Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Alright, let's take a look at what earnings might be this quarter to get an idea. To be honest, I think most investors have really moved on from the quarter-to-quarter earnings. However, Wall Street still seems to care and still make headlines, and the stock will react, most likely drop $5 or $10 as it was all priced in, and then they sell the news. Then a few days later, investors realise what's really important and the stock recovers or goes higher. The main thing that Wall Street is looking for in this earnings report is going to be the margins. But these are so arbitrary and have little reflection on the future of the company. They're arbitrary because right now the auto market is in a slump due to high interest rates. These are temporary and will eventually lower once inflation is more stable. Then cars will become relatively cheaper, and Tesla can raise prices again and margins can return, or demand will increase and economies of scale will kick in. Over time, of course, Tesla will also get costs down and margins will return over time with lower costs of production. Tesla also launching new models that will cost half as much to build as the current. And then even all of that can be argued as just small picture stuff when compared to what it's all about. A robotics AI company. So that all these people who own these Tesla cars will eventually pay hundreds a month in subscriptions for FSD when that is solved, which is what a lot of investors really care about. Hence why the fluctuations of margins from quarter to quarter is not so important. On top of that, Tesla did manage to sell a record number of vehicles this quarter, and we still have the biggest quarters remaining for the rest of the year, which historically are Q3 and Q4, are always better for auto sales. I would say that Tesla's guidance is probably of more importance in where they see the next year going, how they expect to ramp Cybertruck, and if they still expect volume production by the end of next year, how's 4680 sales ramping, and when they may expect to be at a run rate that will finally get Berlin and Texas to capacity, and those factories go from 5% or so gross margin to 15 to 20%, with the economies of scale being at full capacity, along with the cost savings from 4680 sales. I'm also interested in Tesla's progress when it comes to energy. I think this is cell constrained rather than constrained by actual ramping of the manufacturing. No doubt we will also get some new Cybertruck manufacturing pictures too, but in all honesty, I'm more concerned with the call and hoping for a few updates there. I think the exuberance of the Cybertruck is going to come and should expect a handoff event to be announced, or if not, at least told how soon it might be. That could do more for the stock than a slightly higher auto gross margin. Okay, but let's see if we can estimate what this might come to. What I'm going to do is work out last quarter's revenue per delivery and reduced by just 2% due to the additional discounting we saw in inventory last quarter. When we multiply this by our delivery numbers, we get $21 billion in revenue for just autos. And I'm going to reduce our cost of goods sold by 1% due to more economies of scale with higher deliveries and potentially some lower priced commodities. I'm also going to estimate, or guess really, that regulatory credits are $400 million this quarter, resulting in a total of $21.4 billion for auto revenue, which is a margin of 19.7%, down from 21.1% last quarter, with a gross profit of $4.2 billion, which is actually the same as Q1. Energy and services, I've given a similar increase as they had from Q4 to Q1, taking total gross profit to $4.5 billion, which is an 18.2% total GAAP gross margin. I've increased OPEX slightly from Q1, giving $2.68 billion operating profit, with 10.7% operating margin. This gives us a net income after tax of $2.6 billion and a GAAP EPS of 76 cents and non-GAAP of 88 cents. That is a 4% increase in non-GAAP EPS quarter over quarter. So despite margins being a little lower, EPS is at least higher. I would say that this is a fairly expected earnings report without any major surprises, and this has likely been totally priced in. Although having said that, I think the stock price will naturally rise tomorrow in anticipation. It generally does. In fact, it's only going to take just over 2% an increase until we break through the $300 stock price. This might be a barrier and could end up being a volatile day. I would say there's a good chance, at least for some part of the trading day, that we see 300. Then perhaps some after-hours trading after the report is out might take the stock price down a little, but then it will be all about the earnings call. And I think the main thing investors are listening for there will be the Cybertruck handoff event. And then eventually we'll finally get the specifications to the Cybertruck and see them officially being delivered to customers. If this is announced on the call, which I think with all the excitement Elon will be pressured to answer, then the stock will likely hit its new high for the year. And then eventually when we finally get the specifications for the Cybertruck, it could really rise, depending on the price point and range the Cybertruck is able to hit. If the price is around the low $60,000 mark, including tax credits, then that's going to be an excellent price. And I think the range will have to beat the F-150 Lightning, which is 320 miles, so perhaps around mid 300 miles of range at that price. That is a lot of car for the money. We should be given guidance for the next 12 months of what Tesla are aiming for, particularly when it comes to the Cybertruck. Hopefully, volume production still on target for the end of next year, and perhaps a rough idea of what run rate we anticipate early next year too. As for the rest of the guidance, then the biggest deal would be some good progress with 4680 sales. We haven't had any guidance since the Q4 earnings, with Elon saying they expect to ramp them in 2024. Since then, the first Texas 4680 line has gone into production. We could get told about how they expect to ramp that line and more about how the progress is going, along with how the Texas 4680 cell may be different from Fremont, possibly with better energy density, maybe silicon in the anode. It would be good to know at what run rate they anticipate that line at Texas to hit by the end of the year, and what are the latest constraining factors to ramping. Also, when might the other 3 4680 lines at Texas start running would also be good to know. I think with the Cybertruck getting really close to launching, investors are thinking more about 4680 sales again, and wondering how will Tesla be able to have enough cells for the Cybertruck if it's going to ramp. In the past, I've considered that it may use 2170 cells, but my main reasoning behind that was the fact that it would need to launch with the most range, which means beating Rivian's 400 miles of range. But now I'm thinking that Rivian is irrelevant really, and it's more about Ford. Tesla shouldn't have too much trouble beating the Ford F-150 Lightning's range. But what the Cybertruck might impressively do is also beat it in price, or at least come close despite offering more range. Essentially look like better value for money than the Lightning. Even though Tesla don't even need to enter with a low price, and people will buy Cybertrucks at much higher prices, I think if the price is lower, it will do more for the stock price. Imagine just a 2% increase in the stock price if the Cybertruck is $60,000 rather than $72,500 after tax credits. Well, that would add an additional $20 billion or so into the company valuation. Tesla would need to sell an additional 2.5 million Cybertrucks at that higher price point to make that much additional profit. This is one way to look at it at least. Anyway, 4680 update would be good to hear, and I think will come up. Who knows, maybe even someone is smart enough to ask about how the dry battery electrode process is going. Hopefully we hear something new about Mexico too, and what the plans are there. I can't imagine anything mentioned too much about the Model 3 Highland, as Tesla seem to be keeping quite silent in regards to that, nor nothing much mentioned on Gen 3. If we are lucky, Elon might say to expect a Gen 3 model reveal later this year. I also don't think the next factory location will be mentioned either. A good earnings call with positive energy and enthusiasm from Elon might mean that the stock could close above $300, and from there, then the market needs to work out Tesla's next valuation. Hi there, I'm using Verbalate AI video translation and lip sync software. It's pretty amazing. Watch this. I can translate my videos into other languages. For example, I am now speaking Hindi.
नमस्ते, मैं पहली बार हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, लेकिन वर्बलेट इसे इतना आसान बना देता है.
Or how about Spanish?
Hola, vaya, increíble.
También puedo hablar español. Sign up at verbalate.ai today to gain early access to trial the product for creators and strategic partners, and gain the ability to translate and lip sync videos in all major languages. You can view the info in the description below.